The old Zephyrian sat in the corner of the space station bar, his blue skin wrinkled with age. Young traders from across the galaxy gathered around him, their eyes wide with curiosity. The bar was dark and smoky, filled with beings from dozens of different worlds. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with their own light. "Tell us the story again, Elder Corax," whispered a young Korthic female. Her green eyes sparkled in the dim light. "Tell us about the humans." Elder Corax smiled and took a long drink from his cup. The liquid inside glowed purple and smelled like flowers. He had told the story 1,000 times before, but he never grew tired of it. The young ones always wanted to hear about the mysterious. "Humans, long ago," Corax began, his voice deep and rough. "Before the Galactic Council ruled the stars, there were stories. Old stories passed down from father to son, from mother to daughter. These stories spoke of a race called humans." The crowd leaned in closer. Even the bartender, a large creature with 6 arms, stopped cleaning glasses to listen. "The humans came from a world called Earth," Corax continued. "It was a blue planet covered in water and green land. The stories say it was beautiful, but also dangerous. The humans had to fight every day just to survive." A young trader raised his hand. "What did they look like, Elder?" "Like you and me, but different," Corax said. "They walked on 2 legs and had 2 arms. Their skin was soft and came in many colors. Some were dark like rich soil, others were light like sand. They had hair on their heads that grew in many colors too, black, brown, yellow, red, and white." The listeners nodded, trying to picture these strange beings. "But what made humans special was not how they looked," Corax said, his voice growing serious. "It was how they acted. The stories say that humans never gave up. Never. If you knocked them down, they would get back up. If you hurt them, they would heal and come back stronger. If you killed one, 10 more would take their place." A Vorthic trader laughed. "That sounds like made-up stories to scare children." Elder Corax looked at him with sad eyes. "That is what most people think now. But my grandfather's grandfather swore these stories were true. He said his people once met humans long ago when the galaxy was young." "What happened to them?" asked the young Korthic female. "Nobody knows," Corax said. "Some say they destroyed themselves in great wars. Others believe they traveled so far into space that they were never seen again. Most people today think they never existed at all." Far across the galaxy, on the bridge of a massive ship, Commander Vex Thalarin stared at the screen in front of him. He was a tall Zephyrian with dark blue skin and silver eyes. His uniform was clean and pressed, showing his high rank in the Zephyrian Defense Fleet. "Sir," called his science officer, Lyra Kess. She was younger than Vex, with lighter blue skin and bright green eyes. "I'm getting some strange readings from the edge of our territory." Vex walked over to her station. The screen showed waves of energy moving through space. The patterns were unlike anything he had seen before. "What kind of energy is this?" Vex asked. Lyra frowned and ran more tests. "I don't know, sir. It doesn't match any known propulsion system, but—" She paused and looked at him with worried eyes. "It looks similar to something I read about in old texts." "What old texts?" "The ancient stories about humans, sir. They describe theoretical engines that could move faster than light. The energy patterns match what those old books said human ships might produce." Vex laughed. "You're talking about fairy tales, Lyra. Humans are just stories told to children." "I know how it sounds, sir," Lyra said. "But look at these readings. This energy signature is too organized to be natural. Something built this." Vex studied the data again. The patterns were indeed strange. They moved with purpose, like a ship traveling through space. But if it was a ship, it was unlike any vessel known to the galaxy. Send a report to the Galactic Council, Vex ordered. Tell them we have unknown energy signatures at the edge of our space. Request permission to investigate. Meanwhile, deep in space beyond the edge of known territory, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship. Jake was a human male in his 40s, with short brown hair and calm brown eyes. His uniform was simple but clean, marked with the symbols of Earth's United Fleet. "Status report," Jake said to his crew. "All systems are ready, Captain," replied his first officer, Lieutenant Amy Carter. Amy was a human female with long red hair tied back in a neat ponytail. Her green eyes showed both excitement and nervousness. "The other ships are in position and waiting for your orders," added the communications officer, Lieutenant Paul Davies. Paul was a young human male with black hair and dark skin. Jake looked out at the stars through the main screen. Somewhere out there was a galaxy full of alien races who had no idea that humans existed. Earth had been watching them for 50 years, learning their languages and studying their cultures. Now it was time to make contact. "Sir," Amy said quietly, "are you sure we're ready for this?" "First contact with an entire galactic civilization is a big step." Jake nodded. "We've been preparing for this moment for decades, Amy. Our scientists have studied their technology. Our diplomats have learned their customs. We know as much about them as we can without actually meeting them. But what if they're hostile?" asked Paul. "Then we'll deal with that when it happens," Jake said. "But remember, we're not going there to conquer or control. We're going to introduce ourselves and see if we can be friends." Back on the Zephyrian ship, Vex received a message from the Galactic Council. The reply was short and simple. Investigate the energy signatures and report back. The Council did not seem worried about the strange readings. "They think it's just cosmic noise," Lyra said, after reading the message. "Maybe it is," Vex replied. "But we still need to check it out. Set course for the energy source. Full speed." As the Zephyrian ship moved toward the edge of space, Jake Morrison gave his final orders to the human fleet. "All ships, this is Captain Morrison. Today we make history. Today we step out of the shadows and introduce ourselves to the galaxy. Remember, we go in peace, but we go prepared. Earth is counting on us." The human ships powered up their engines, energy crackling around them like controlled lightning. These were not the primitive vessels that Elder Corax's stories described. These were advanced warships, sleek and powerful, built with technology that took humans centuries to develop. "Captain," Amy said, checking her instruments, "we're picking up an alien ship heading our way. It's still far off, but it's coming fast." Jake smiled. "Good. It looks like we won't have to wait long for our first meeting. Are we ready to make some new friends, people?" The crew nodded, their faces showing a mixture of excitement and determination. They were about to prove that humans were not just folk tales. They were real, and they were here to stay. The silence of space was about to be broken forever. The Galactic Council's exploration ship Harmony's Edge dropped out of hyperspace with a bright flash of light. Captain Zara Olix, a tall Korthek female with green skin and yellow eyes, stood on the bridge looking at the main screen. Her crew was the best in the fleet, chosen for their experience with first contact situations. "Report," Zara ordered, her voice calm and professional. "Captain, we have a problem," said her science officer, Commander Nix Terran. He was a Vorthic male with gray skin and forearms. His instruments were beeping with alarm signals. "There's a ship out there, but it doesn't match any design in our database." Zara moved to look at his screen. What she saw made her breath catch in her throat. The ship floating in space before them was massive, easily twice the size of her own vessel. Its hull was dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange markings covered its surface, and weapon ports were clearly visible along its sides. "How long has it been there?" Zara asked. "Unknown, Captain. It's just sitting still, like it's waiting for something." "Or someone," whispered the navigation. "Officer, a young Zephyrian named Casvalin. Zara had been a captain for 20 years. She had made first contact with 12 different species during her career. But this felt different. This ship looked like it was built for war, not exploration. "Open a communication channel," she ordered. "Use standard first contact protocols." The communications officer, a Korthic male named Dex Morin, worked at his controls. "Channel open, Captain. Broadcasting on all frequencies. Unknown vessel. This is Captain Zara Olix of the Galactic Council ship Harmony's Edge. Please identify yourself and state your intentions." For a long moment, there was only silence. Then the main screen flickered, and a face appeared. The entire bridge crew gasped. The being on the screen looked almost like them, but wrong somehow. It had 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth, all in the right places. But its skin was a strange pink-brown color, and hair grew from the top of its head. The creature wore a uniform that was simple but clean. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Hughes Defiant," the being said. Its voice was deep and strong. "We greet you in peace, representatives of the Galactic Council." Zara felt her legs go weak. Did you say Earth?" "Yes, Captain Olix. We are humans from the planet Earth. We have been watching your civilization for many years, learning your languages and customs. We believe it is time for us to meet." The bridge fell completely silent. Every member of Zara's crew stared at the screen in shock. Humans were supposed to be legends, stories told to children. They were not supposed to be real. "Captain Morrison," Zara said, trying to keep her voice steady, "humans are considered mythical beings in our culture. How do we know you are telling the truth?" Jake Morrison smiled, and somehow that smile was both friendly and dangerous at the same time. "We expected that reaction. Captain Olix, we have prepared evidence of our identity. With your permission, we would like to transmit historical data about our species and our world." Zara looked at her science officer. Commander Terran nodded slowly. "The transmission appears to be safe, Captain. Just data files." "Permission granted," Zara said. The data that came through their computers was incredible. Files upon files of information about human history, showing a species that had fought countless wars, survived disasters that would have destroyed other races, and finally reached the stars. Pictures of Earth showed a beautiful blue world, covered in oceans and green land. But what shocked the crew most were the military records. Humans had spent thousands of years fighting each other, developing weapons and tactics that were both brilliant and terrifying. Their history was full of wars that lasted decades, battles where millions died, and conflicts that shaped their entire civilization. "By the ancient stars," whispered Commander Terran as he read the files. "These beings have been at war for their entire history." "Not war, Commander," Jake Morrison said, apparently able to hear their conversation. "Survival. We learned to fight because we had to. Our world was dangerous, and we were surrounded by creatures that wanted to eat us. We fought other humans because we didn't know better. But we learned." "What did you learn?" Zara asked. "That fighting is sometimes necessary, but peace is always better. That strength without wisdom leads to destruction. That the strong should protect the weak, not rule over them." On the bridge of the UE's Defiant, Jake Morrison turned to his communications officer. "Amy, send word to Admiral Hayes. Tell her first contact is going well, but we should be ready for anything." Lieutenant Amy Carter nodded and sent the message. Across space, other human ships received the signal and prepared for whatever might come next. "Captain Morrison," Zara's voice came through the speakers, I must report this contact to the Galactic Council immediately. This changes everything. We understand, Captain Olex. We request a formal meeting with your council. We have much to discuss. Zara ended the communication and immediately opened a channel to council headquarters. Within minutes, she was speaking directly to Chancellor Corv Nethys, the leader of the Galactic Council. You're telling me that humans are real? Chancellor, Nethys said, his voice filled with disbelief. He was an old Korthic male with dark green skin and wise yellow eyes. The beings from the ancient stories? Yes, Chancellor. They have provided extensive proof of their identity. Their ship is more advanced than anything in our database, and their historical records match the old legends perfectly. There was a long pause. Captain Olex, maintain your position and continue diplomatic contact. Do not take any hostile actions. I'm calling an emergency session of the Council immediately. Back on Earth's moon, in a secret base hidden beneath the surface, Admiral Lisa Hayes received Amy Carter's message. Lisa was a human female in her 50s, with gray hair and sharp blue eyes. She had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. So it begins, she said to her aide, Colonel Ray Bennett. Ray was a tall human male with dark skin and careful eyes. He had been Lisa's friend and advisor for 20 years. Are you worried, Admiral? Ray asked. Yes and no, Lisa replied. We knew this day would come. We've prepared for every possibility we could think of. But there are always surprises when two civilizations meet for the first time. What if they decide we're too dangerous to allow into their galaxy? Lisa looked at the tactical display showing the positions of all human ships. 50 vessels were spread across space, each one armed with weapons that the aliens had never seen before. Then we'll have to convince them otherwise, she said, one way or another. Meanwhile, in the council chambers on the capital world of Nexus Prime, the emergency session had begun. Representatives from 47 different species filled the massive hall, all talking at once about the shocking news. Order, order. Chancellor, Nethys called, hitting his gavel on the podium. We will discuss this calmly and rationally. Counselor Thyses Vertani, a Zephyrian xenobiologist, stood up. She was an older female with light blue skin and silver hair. Chancellor, I have spent my life studying the old texts about humans. If these beings are truly what they claim to be, then we are facing the most significant event in galactic history. Explain, the Chancellor said. The ancient records describe humans as incredibly adaptable and persistent. They never surrender, even when facing impossible odds. They have a saying, never give up, never surrender. If the stories are true, they turned their entire world into a paradise through sheer determination. They also turned it into a battlefield, called out War Marshal Grex Thulin, a massive Korthic male with scars covering his green skin. The data shows they spent thousands of years killing each other. What makes you think they won't do the same to us? Because they chose to make contact peacefully, Thyses replied. They could have attacked our ships without warning, but instead, they opened negotiations. That shows wisdom. The debate continued for hours. Some council members wanted to welcome the humans as new members of galactic civilization. Others believed they were too dangerous to trust. A few extremists even suggested that humanity should be destroyed before they could become a threat. Back in space, Captain Morrison and Captain Olex continued their historic conversation. They talked about their worlds, their cultures, and their hopes for the future. With each passing hour, both crews began to realize that despite their physical differences, they had much in common, but neither side knew that darker forces were already moving. In secret chambers across the galaxy, military leaders and extremist politicians were making plans. The age of peace was about to end, and humanity would have to prove that they were more than just legends come to life. The first contact protocols. had worked perfectly. But as Jake Morrison looked at the stars around him, he wondered if peace would be enough to keep his people safe in this vast and dangerous galaxy. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going on for 3 days. The great hall on Nexus Prime buzzed with angry voices as representatives from 47 worlds argued about what to do with humanity. Chancellor Corv Nethys sat at the center podium, his green skin looking pale from exhaustion. The humans present a clear danger to galactic stability, declared War Marshal Grex Thulin, slamming his massive fist on the speaking platform. Look at their history. They spent thousands of years killing each other. What happens when they get bored with peace? Counselor Thyses Vertani stood up from her seat in the Zephyrian section. War Marshal, you're letting fear cloud your judgment. Yes, humans have a violent past, but so do most of our species. The Korthic Empire conquered 12 worlds before joining the Council. The Vorthic fought civil wars for centuries. Every species here has blood in their history. But not like this, Grex shot back. He activated a holographic display that showed human military statistics. Look at these numbers. In their last global war, they killed over 60 million of their own kind. In just 6 years, they built weapons that could destroy their entire planet. What kind of species does that? A species that learns from its mistakes, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Dr. Ellen Brooks walking into the hall. She was a human female in her 40s, with brown hair and intelligent green eyes. Behind her walked Colonel Ray Bennett, tall and alert, his hand resting near his weapon. The hall fell silent. This was the first time most council members had seen a human in person. Ellen looked remarkably similar to the other species in the galaxy, but there was something different about her. She moved with confidence, like someone who had faced danger and survived. I am Dr. Ellen Brooks, Earth's chief diplomat, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the hall. I come before you not as a conqueror or a threat, but as a representative of a species that wants to join the galactic community. Chancellor Nethys gestured to an empty platform. Dr. Brooks, you may address the council. But I warn you, many here believe your species is too dangerous to be trusted. Ellen walked to the platform, her boots clicking on the metal floor. She looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of aliens from dozens of different worlds. Some looked curious, others seemed afraid, and a few appeared openly hostile. I understand your fear, Ellen began. We have studied your civilizations for 50 years. We know you have lived in peace for over 3,000 years. The idea of a warrior species joining your community must be terrifying. Then you admit you are warriors, Grex interrupted. Yes, Ellen said simply. We are warriors. But being a warrior and being a monster are two different things. We learned to fight because our world was dangerous. We had no choice but to become strong or die. But we also learned that true strength comes from protecting others, not conquering them. She activated her own holographic display. Images of Earth appeared in the air above the hall. Beautiful blue oceans, green forests, and gleaming cities filled the space. This is our world today, Ellen said. We have had no wars for over 100 years. We cleaned our polluted skies and healed our damaged lands. We fed our hungry and housed our homeless. We learned that working together was better than fighting each other. Pretty words, said Counselor Shex Vorthic, a gray-skinned being with 4 arms. But how do we know you won't change your minds? What happens when you decide our resources would be better in human hands? Ellen smiled, and somehow that smile was both gentle and frightening. Counselor Vorthic, if we wanted to take your resources, we would have done it already. We have been watching you for 50 years. We know where your fleets are stationed, what weapons you have, and how your defenses work. If we were conquerors, this conversation would not be happening. The hall erupted in angry voices. Representatives stood up and shouted at each other in dozens of different languages. The translation system struggled to keep up with the chaos. Order! Chancellor Nethys called, banging his gavel repeatedly. We will have order in this chamber. When the noise died down, War Marshal Grex stepped forward again. Dr. Brooks, your words sound reasonable, but we have intelligence reports that concern us. Your ships carry weapons unlike anything in our database. Your technology appears to be more advanced than ours in several areas. Why should we believe you come in peace when you bring such power with you? Colonel Ray Bennett stepped forward and whispered something in Ellen's ear. She nodded and looked back at the council. War Marshal, we bring weapons because space is dangerous. Even in your peaceful galaxy, there are pirates, raiders, and hostile aliens who prey on the weak. We refuse to be victims. As for our technology, being advanced, that should give you hope, not fear. How so? Asked Thizes Vertani. Because we're willing to share it, Ellen replied. Our medical technology could help you cure diseases that have plagued your worlds for centuries. Our environmental systems could restore damaged planets. Our agricultural methods could feed billions of hungry beings across the galaxy. The hall buzzed with excited whispers. Several council members leaned forward in their seats, suddenly very interested in what the human diplomat had to say. But not everyone was convinced. Counselor Vex Morlock, a tall being with reptilian features, stood up from his seat. Dr. Brooks, you speak of sharing technology and helping others. But what do you want in return? Nothing in the galaxy is free. Ellen's expression grew serious. We want respect, Counselor Morlock. We want to be treated as equals, not as monsters or children. We want the right to travel freely through galactic space and to trade with other worlds. We want to join the community of civilized species. And if we refuse? Grex asked, his voice low and threatening. The temperature in the hall seemed to drop several degrees. Ellen looked directly at the War Marshal, and her green eyes showed steel underneath the diplomacy. Then we will respect your decision and return to our own space, she said. But we will not hide anymore. The galaxy will know we exist, and they will know we are here to stay. Some species will choose to trade with us anyway. Some will want our help with their problems. And some will decide they would rather have us as friends than as strangers. Chancellor Nethys could see the way the conversation was heading. Dr. Brooks, what exactly are you proposing? A trial membership, Ellen replied. Give us 1 year to prove ourselves. Let us establish embassies on a few worlds. Allow limited trade between our species and any who wish it. If we cause problems, we will leave peacefully. If we prove ourselves worthy, consider full membership in the Council. The debate that followed lasted another 6 hours. Council members argued about security, trade agreements, and the risks of allowing humans into galactic society. Some spoke passionately in favor of the proposal, while others demanded that humanity be rejected completely. During a break in the session, Counselor Thizes Vertani approached Ellen in a private meeting room. Dr. Brooks, I must ask you something. Directly, are your people really as peaceful as you claim? Ellen looked at the older Zephyrian female with tired eyes. Counselor, I won't lie to you. Humans can be violent when threatened. We have a saying on Earth, speak softly and carry a big stick. We prefer peace, but we are always ready for war. That's what worries many of us, Thizes said. It shouldn't, Ellen replied. The most dangerous predator is one that looks harmless. We show our teeth so others know not to attack us. That keeps everyone safe. Meanwhile, in a secret meeting room deep beneath the council building, War Marshal Grex Thillin met with other military leaders. The group included Admiral Kex Vorthen of the Zephyrian Fleet and General East Thrakor of the Korthek Defense Force. The Council is going to approve the trial membership, Grex said, his voice filled with disgust. These fools are going to invite wolves into the sheep pen. What do you propose we do about it? Admiral Vorthan asked. She was a middle-aged Zephyrian, with scars on her blue face from old battles. We eliminate the threat before it can spread, Grex replied. One decisive strike against their fleet will end this problem forever. General Thrakor, a massive Korthic male with green skin and yellow eyes, nodded slowly. Our combined fleets outnumber them significantly, but their technology concerns me. What if we underestimate their capabilities? Then we die fighting, Grex said, but if we do nothing, we die anyway. These humans will eventually consume the entire galaxy. Better to face them now, while we still have the advantage of numbers. Back in the main hall, the vote was finally called. Representatives pressed buttons on their desks, casting their decisions electronically. The massive display screen above the Chancellor's podium showed the results as they came in. For 19 votes against, 22 votes. Abstaining, 6 votes Chancellor. Nethys looked at the results with mixed feelings. The motion fails. Dr. Brooks, I'm sorry, but the Council cannot approve your proposal at this time. Ellen nodded calmly, though Colonel Bennett tensed behind her. I understand, Chancellor. We are disappointed, but we respect your decision. However, the Chancellor continued, the vote was close. Perhaps in time, as our peoples get to know each other better, opinions will change. Perhaps, Ellen agreed. We will return to our ships and report these results to our government. But remember, Chancellor, the galaxy is a big place. There are many species who are not part of your council. Some of them Mig. The attack came at dawn, Galactic Standard Time. War Marshal Grex Thulin stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Eternal Dominion. Around him, 50 warships from 3 different species moved through space in perfect formation. It was the largest military force assembled in over 1,000 years. Target the human flagship, Grex ordered his weapons officer. We end this quickly and cleanly. On the bridge of the U.E.'s Defiant, alarms screamed as the alien fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Captain Jake Morrison stood calmly at his command station, watching the tactical display as enemy ships surrounded his small fleet. Captain, we're being targeted by multiple vessels, reported Lieutenant Amy Carter, her voice steady despite the danger. They're charging weapons. Sir, incoming transmission, added Lieutenant Paul Davies from the communications station. Put it through, Jake said. War Marshal Grex's scarred face appeared on the main screen. His yellow eyes burned with hatred. As he spoke, human vessels, you are ordered to power down your weapons and prepare to surrender. You have brought war to a peaceful galaxy, and now you will face the consequences. Jake stepped forward, his brown eyes meeting the alien commander's. Gaze without fear. War Marshal, we came here in peace. We have not fired a single shot or threatened anyone. If you attack us, you will be the one starting a war. You are the threat, Grex snarled. Your very existence threatens the peace we have maintained for 3,000 years. Surrender now, and you will be allowed to live as prisoners. Refuse, and we will destroy every human ship in space. Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. Amy Carter stood at her station, ready to fight. Paul Davies had his hands on the communication controls, prepared to send humanity's final message to the galaxy. The other officers were at their posts, waiting for his orders. War Marshal, Jake said, his voice carrying clearly through space. My people have a saying, we came in peace for all mankind, but we have another saying too, don't tread on me. You have 60 seconds to withdraw your forces before we defend ourselves. Grex laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through both ships. 60 seconds? You are outnumbered 50 to 12. Your courage is admirable, but your situation is hopeless. 58 seconds, Jake replied calmly. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Grex's tactical officer, Commander Vex Corlan, studied his sensors with growing concern. War Marshal, the human ships are not powering down their weapons. In fact, they're charging some kind of energy systems I've never seen before. What kind of energy? Grex demanded. Unknown, sir. The readings are off our scales. Whatever they're doing, it's generating massive amounts of power. Grex felt a cold touch of fear in his stomach, but he pushed it aside. He had committed to this course of action, and there was no turning back now. 30 seconds, Jake's voice came through the speakers. Across the human fleet, 12 ships prepared for battle. On the destroyer Hughes Ranger, Commander Steve Rodriguez checked his weapon systems one final time. Steve was a human male in his 30s, with black hair and calm, dark eyes. He had trained for this moment his entire career. All weapons charged and ready, Captain Morrison, Steve reported over the fleet communication channel. My crew is ready to fight. Acknowledged, Steve, Jake replied. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for the right of humanity to exist in this galaxy. On the heavy cruiser U.S. Liberty, Admiral Lisa Hayes watched the tactical display with the eyes of a veteran commander. She had gray hair and sharp blue eyes that had seen many battles. This would be the most important fight of her life. All ships, this is Admiral Hayes, she broadcast to the human fleet. We knew this day might come. Our diplomats tried to make peace, but sometimes peace is not possible. Today we show the galaxy what humans are capable of. Make every shot count. The countdown reached 0. Fire, Jake ordered quietly. What happened next shocked every being in both fleets. The human ships unleashed weapons that seemed to tear holes. In space itself, bright beams of plasma energy, more intense than the core of a star, reached across the void and struck the alien vessels. The first target was a Korthik heavy cruiser. The plasma beam hit its shields and burned through them like they were made of paper. The energy continued through the ship's hull, cutting it in half from bow to stern. The cruiser exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness of space. Impossible, whispered Commander Corlan on the Eternal Dominion. No weapon should be able to penetrate our shields that easily. But the human attack was just beginning. Commander Steve Rodriguez led his destroyer group in a flanking maneuver that caught 3 alien ships completely off guard. His weapons. Officer Lieutenant Nina Ross fired a spread of missiles that moved faster than anything in the galaxy. Direct hits on all 3 targets, Nina reported, her voice filled with excitement. Their shields are down, and we're reading hull breaches. Across all decks. The alien fleet tried to respond, but their weapons seemed weak compared to human technology. Their energy beams struck human shields and were absorbed or deflected. Their missiles were shot down by defensive systems that moved with impossible speed and accuracy. War Marshal Grex watched in horror as his mighty fleet was torn apart. Ships that had ruled the galaxy for centuries were burning wrecks in less than 10 minutes. His own flagship shook under repeated hits from human weapons. Shields down to 30%, his tactical officer reported. Hull breaches on decks 5 through 12. We're taking heavy damage. How is this possible? Grex demanded. Our intelligence said they were primitives who had just reached the stars. Sir, our intelligence was wrong, Commander Corlan replied, his voice shaking with fear. These humans have been preparing for war their entire history. Every weapon they carry has been tested in real combat. On the U.S. Defiant, Lieutenant Paul Davies monitored the battle communications. Captain, I'm picking up panic signals from the alien fleet. Several ships are requesting permission to retreat. Jake nodded grimly. The battle was going exactly as Earth's military planners had predicted. The aliens had lived in peace for so long that they had forgotten how to fight a real war. Humans, on the other hand, had never stopped preparing for the worst. "Amy, status report," Jake ordered. "All human ships are operational, sir," Amy Carter reported. "Minor damage to the UES Ranger, but nothing serious. The alien fleet has lost 18 ships so far, with more taking heavy damage." Across the battlefield, the Zephyrian cruiser Blue Dawn tried to escape the fighting. Captain Lesses Morvik, a female Zephyrian with pale blue skin, watched her crew work frantically to repair damaged systems. "Engineering, I need faster-than-light capability restored immediately," she called over the ship's communication system. "Impossible, Captain," came the reply from her chief engineer. "The humans targeted our hyperspace generators first. They knew exactly where to hit us to prevent escape." Captain Morvik realized the terrible truth. The humans had not just superior weapons. They had superior tactics. They fought like beings who understood war at the deepest level. On the human side, Admiral Lissa Hayes made a decision that would echo through galactic history. Instead of pressing their advantage and destroying the entire alien fleet, she opened a communication channel to all ships in the battle area. "Attention all vessels," her voice broadcast across space. "This is Admiral Lissa Hayes of the Earth Defense Force. I am ordering all human ships to cease fire." The sudden silence was deafening. Weapons that had been tearing alien ships apart just moments before went quiet. The surviving alien vessels drifted in space, many of them heavily damaged, but still alive. "War Marshal Grex," Admiral Hayes continued, her voice stern but not cruel, "you attacked us without provocation. You tried to destroy our ships and kill our people. Under the laws of war, we would be justified in destroying your entire fleet." On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Grex listened with growing amazement. His ship was crippled, his fleet was scattered, and he was completely at the mercy of the humans. Yet they had stopped fighting. However, Admiral Hayes continued, humanity did not come to this galaxy to conquer or destroy. We came seeking friendship and trade. You have seen what happens when you treat us as enemies. Now we offer you a choice. The alien crews across. The battlefield held their breath, waiting to hear their fate. Withdraw your forces and return to your home worlds, the Admiral said. Tell your leaders what happened here today. Tell them that humans are not monsters, but we are not victims either. Tell them that we offer peace to those who want it, but we will defend ourselves against those who don't. War Marshal Grex felt his pride warring with his common sense. His military career was over, his reputation destroyed, but his people were still alive, and that was what mattered most. Admiral Hayes, he said slowly, I accept your terms. My fleet will withdraw immediately. One more thing, War Marshal, the Admiral added. Your attack on our peaceful diplomatic mission will be broadcast to every world in the galaxy. Let them see who started this fight and who chose to end it with mercy. As the surviving alien ships limped away from the battlefield, Captain Jake Morrison turned to his crew. Paul, send a message to every communication network in the galaxy. Full spectrum broadcast, all languages. Ready to transmit, sir, Paul replied. Jake stepped in front of the main communicate. 6 months after the Battle of the Void, the galaxy was a very different place. The old Galactic Council still existed, but its power was broken. Riots had erupted on 17 worlds when citizens learned their leaders had started an unprovoked war. Several species had withdrawn from the Council completely, declaring their independence. Chancellor Corv Nethys sat in his office on Nexus Prime, staring out the window at a changed world. Below him, protesters marched through the streets carrying signs demanding peace with humanity. His once mighty government was falling apart, and he knew it was his own fault for not controlling the extremists. A soft chime announced that his visitor had arrived. Dr. Ellen Brooks walked into the office, followed by Colonel Ray Bennett. The human diplomat looked tired but determined, while her military escort remained alert and ready for trouble. "Chancellor," Ellen said, taking a seat across from his desk. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me." "Dr. Brooks," Corv replied, his voice heavy with exhaustion, "I owe you and your people an apology. The attack on your fleet was not authorized by the full council. War Marshal Grex acted on his own, driven by fear and prejudice." Ellen nodded slowly. "We know, Chancellor. Our intelligence networks have been very busy since the battle. We know which council members supported the attack and which ones opposed." Your intelligence networks?" Corv asked, surprised. "Chancellor, we've been watching your civilization for 50 years, Ray Bennett said, speaking for the first time. "Did you think we would make contact without having people already in place throughout your territory?" The implications of that statement hit Corv like a physical blow. Humans had been living among them for decades, learning their secrets and preparing for this moment. The level of planning and patience required was staggering. "Don't look so worried," Ellen said with a slight smile. "Our people were instructed to observe only, never to interfere or cause harm. We wanted to understand your cultures before we revealed ourselves. What do you want from us now?" Corv asked. "The same thing we wanted 6 months ago," Ellen replied. "Peace, friendship, and the chance to be part of the galactic community. But the old council system is clearly broken. We propose something new." She activated a holographic display that showed a new form of government. Instead of the old system where powerful species dominated weaker ones, this new structure gave every world an equal voice, regardless of size or military strength. "A true galactic democracy," Ellen explained. "Every species, every world, gets one vote on issues that affect them. No more domination by the strong over the weak." "And if the old council refuses to accept this new system?" Corv asked. "Then we'll work with those who do accept it," Ellen said simply. Already, 23 species have expressed interest in joining a new galactic confederation. More are joining every day. Meanwhile, on the outer rim world of Kepler-7, a very different kind of meeting was taking place. The Zelen Mining Consortium had been struggling under heavy taxes imposed by the Council for decades. Their representative, Director Kes Thalen, sat across from Captain Steve Rodriguez of the UES Ranger. "You're saying you can provide protection from Council tax collectors?" Kes asked, his reptilian features showing both hope and suspicion. "We're saying we can provide protection from anyone who tries to take advantage of you," Steve replied. "In exchange, we'd like to establish a trading post here and perhaps purchase some of your rare metals for our ship construction." "And the Council?" "The Council has no authority here anymore," Steve said with confidence. "They lost that authority when they attacked peaceful diplomats. If they want to collect taxes from you, they'll have to go through us first." Word of deals like this spread quickly throughout the galaxy. Smaller species and independent worlds began reaching out to humanity, seeking protection from Council bullying and offering trade agreements in return. On Earth, President Maria Santos met with the Senate Foreign Relations Committee in a secure bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. Maria was a human female in her 60s, with silver hair and wise brown eyes. She had led Earth through the first contact crisis with steady leadership. "The situation is developing faster than we anticipated," she told the assembled senators. "We now have formal relations with over 40 independent worlds and species. Our trade networks are expanding daily." Senator John Kelly, a tall man with gray hair, raised his hand. "Madam President, what about the old council? Are we at war with them?" "Not exactly," Maria replied. "We're in a state of armed neutrality. They know better than to attack us again, but they haven't formally surrendered either. Chancellor Nethys has been trying to negotiate, but the hardliners in his government are fighting him every step of the way. What about our military situation? Asked Senator Lisa Park, a younger woman with black hair and sharp eyes. Admiral Lisa Hayes, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, stood up to address the committee. Our fleet has grown to over 200 ships, with more being built every month. We have bases on 12 worlds and patrol routes, covering most of the galaxy's major trade lanes. Are we becoming an empire? Senator Kelly asked with concern. No. Admiral Hayes replied firmly. We're becoming protectors. Every world we have a base on invited us there. Every patrol route we cover is at the request of local governments who want protection from pirates and raiders. Back on Nexus Prime, Chancellor Corv Nethys faced the worst crisis of his career. Half the council had voted to continue opposing humanity, while the other half wanted to negotiate. The government was paralyzed, unable to make any decisions. Situation came to a head when the Vorthik Confederation announced they were withdrawing from the council and joining the new human-led Galactic Confederation. Within hours, 6 more species followed their example. Sir, Corv's aide, a young Korthik named Dex Vorlin, rushed into his office. The Zephyrian Union just announced they're holding a referendum on council membership. Early polling shows 60% support for withdrawal. Corv sank into his chair, feeling the weight of 3,000 years of galactic history pressing down on him. The council his ancestors had built was crumbling, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. Sir, Dex continued, Dr. Brooks is requesting another meeting. She says humanity is prepared to make a final offer. 2 hours later, Ellen Brooks sat across from the full Galactic Council for what everyone knew would be the last time. The Great Hall was half empty, with many seats vacant where representatives had already withdrawn their species from the council. Members of the council, Ellen began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. We stand at a crossroads. You can continue trying to maintain the old system of domination and control, or you can join us in building something new and better. War Marshal Grex Thulin, his career destroyed but his pride intact, stood up from his seat. And if we refuse? Will you destroy us like you destroyed our fleet? War Marshal, Ellen replied calmly, we could have destroyed your fleet completely 6 months ago. We chose mercy instead. We could conquer your remaining worlds with ease, but we choose cooperation instead. The question is not what we will do if you refuse. The question is what you will become if you continue down this path of fear and hatred. She gestured to the empty seats around the chamber. Look around you. Your alliance is already broken. Your people are already choosing freedom over oppression. You can either lead them toward a better future or be left behind by history. Chancellor Corv Nethys stood up slowly. He was old and tired, but he still had enough wisdom to see the truth. Dr. Brooks, what exactly are you proposing? Join the new Galactic Confederation as equals, Ellen said. Keep your local governments, your cultures, your traditions. But work with us to build a system where every voice matters, where disputes are settled through negotiation instead of force, and where the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them. The debate that followed lasted 6 hours. In the end, the vote was closer than anyone expected. For joining the Confederation, 24 votes, against, 18 votes, abstaining, 5 votes. The motion passes. Chancellor Corv announced, his voice heavy with emotion. The Galactic Council votes to dissolve itself and join the new Galactic Confederation. War Marshal Grex Thulin stormed out of the chamber, along with several other hardliners. But most of the representatives remained, ready to help build something new. 5 years later, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, the flagship of the Confederation Defense Force. His hair was grayer now, and there were lines around his eyes, but he carried himself with the quiet confidence of a man who had helped change the galaxy. "Status report," he said to his first officer, Commander Amy Carter. Amy had been promoted after the Battle of the Void, and now wore the insignia of a full commander. "All patrol sectors are quiet, sir," Amy reported. "The Trader Protection Service reports only minor pirate activity in the Outer Rim, and local security forces are handling it well." "Any word from the diplomatic mission to the Andromeda Contact Zone?" Jake asked. "Dr. Brooks reports first contact with the Andromedan Coalition went smoothly," Amy replied with a smile. "They're interested in trade agreements and cultural exchange." Jake nodded, looking out at the stars through the main viewer. The galaxy was at peace for the first time in its history. Not the forced peace of domination,